Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. $100 billion asset manager names XRP the only altcoin fit to complement a Bitcoin strategy. And you know, it's just so fascinating. This is not some little fly-by-night firm, $100 billion asset manager. And it's just so fascinating to me that when you strip away the tribalism from the crypto space, when you strip away the irrational hatred of XRP because there's certain cliques out there where it's just not cool to say anything or think anything positive about XRP. When you strip all of that away, as it turns out, you're left with unbiased, reasonable people researching stuff and coming to the conclusion that, hey, XRP actually is a pretty damn good investment opportunity. And that's what this firm is effectively arguing. So they put together a report, and this has been broadly circulating in over the last couple of days throughout the XRP community. But the report itself actually was published in November. I had never seen it before, so not that I literally see everything that's impossible. I don't recall this circulating to any notable degree, so I missed it. Maybe it wasn't ever heavily circulated. Sometimes that stuff happens. Like sometimes something will be published, and then months later, somebody in the community finds it and then shares it on social media, and then it spreads like fire, basically like wildfire. And so this might be another one of those types of instances. But it's just so fascinating to read through this damn thing because this is a firm that gets it. They are all in. This huge firm, $100 billion asset manager, they are clearly all in on XRP, and they make the case like in very clear terms. And it's not like it's a comprehensive list, but it's sufficient for anybody that's interested in considering getting exposure to XRP. It's more than sufficient, and it's from a source that is just laying down facts and accurately stating things, as you'll see, which frankly is a breath of fresh air, because that's a lot different than what you typically see on social media. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So what is the firm that I'm talking about here? It is none other than WisdomTree, and you may have heard of them before. Here's a headline from November 21st, 2024. WisdomTree launches physical XRP ETP. And so this is an investment product that's literally backed by XRP. It's just not in the United States. It's listed, it's on the Swiss Stock Exchange 6, where else? Euronet exchanges in Paris and Amsterdam, so on and so forth. I don't want to read this whole thing. I just wanted to just give you a little bit of a background to let you know, like, this is a firm that is very serious about XRP, and it just makes sense. When adults are in the room, all the tribalism goes out the freaking window. So this was actually launched, but that's not all they're going. They're seeking to launch an XRP ETF with the SEC. They filed with the SEC. Here you can see the headline from the Crypto Briefing, December 2nd of 2024. WisdomTree files for XRP ETF with SEC. So it's not surprising that they're putting out level-headed, unbiased, just straight up factual information about XRP. And it's just interesting because they're literally just laying down facts. Like here's the science. And this is the type of stuff that we yell at the stupid, toxic Bitcoin maximalists when they lie about XRP. We keep laying down the same damn information. And it's just nice to see a firm like this put out that information. And so we can just slap this damn thing down when some of this nonsense FUD comes out from some of these idiots. But this is the report in question. So again, it's from November of 2024. This is from the WisdomTree website. And it's titled, Why XRP May Complement Bitcoin in Achieving Portfolio Diversification. And so there are some key sections that I want to run through with you and share some thoughts along the way. Because, look, you're like me, I'm assuming, if you're listening to this channel. You have decided, or you're in the phase of like doing research. But most of you, you've already decided after doing research that XRP just makes sense, right? You're not stupid. You know, you got a brain on your shoulders. A head on your shoulders with a brain. I guess that's the right way to say it. And as it turns out, you can engage in critical thinking. And if you're like me, when you came into crypto, you came in as a blank slate. There was no cult-like mentality in you whatsoever, and you just wanted to believe whatever was true. And so you started doing your own research. And after you started researching XRP, you're like, holy hell, this thing is actually freaking useful. You probably recognize that it has utility, and you probably figured out pretty quickly that cryptocurrencies that have utility are not going to go the way of the dodo, which is my favorite extinct avian creature. It's not going to. Humans are not in the habit of throwing out technology that is useful to a society. That's not what happens, right? And so we were able to figure this out. And it's just nice to see that a firm like this believes the same things that we broadly speaking anyway, in the XRP community, know to be true. And they're helping to spread that message. And so the more adults you get in the room, the more you're going to see this stuff, and the more money ultimately flows into XRP. This is the type of stuff that I've been talking about off and on for over 6 years on this channel. And I've now been in crypto for 7.5 years. So check this out. This piece reads as follows. As investors start to recognize the potential benefits of adding crypto to their multi-asset portfolios, they are also looking for ways to diversify their crypto exposures. That is, some investors no longer want to be overexposed to a single mega cap cryptocurrency and are actively looking for a suitable altcoin to sit alongside it. Well, hallelujah! This is exactly what I've been saying for the longest freaking time. There will never be one coin to rule them all. I understand Bitcoin is the one with the brand name, right? All the cachet, all that. It doesn't matter. Like, people that come in, they're going to want to have broad exposure to the asset class. You don't jump into the stock market and just purchase only the largest cap that there is. No, people want to spread out the risk. That just makes sense. And that's why I've been insisting, as people increasingly want to jump into the world of crypto, they will be interested in purchasing XRP ETFs once they're available. They'll be interested in purchasing ETFs that are multi-asset, and a lot of the multi-asset ones, especially to start, I mean, it's going to be almost exclusively, or maybe literally exclusively to start anyway, when you're talking about the multi-asset ETFs to get approved. It's going to be the large caps. And so XRP is going to be shoved in there too. And so it's not going to be people, not all of them are going to have to do tons of research. It's just they want exposure. It's the same thing as buying an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. You're not researching all of the 500 companies, are you? No, you're just getting the exposure. And the market ranks what cryptocurrencies make the most sense, because they jockey for position based on market cap. The market does all of that for you. You just have the exposure. Whatever the large ones are, they are. Just like I was talking about the other day, the Coinbase 50, because Coinbase, by the way, they are actually the first crypto company ever to make it into the S&P 500, which is just freaking cool as hell. And they knocked out a traditional finance company, Discover. It was a segment of them anyway. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but they knocked them out, and it's a crypto firm that did. I just love that. But anyway, so Coinbase, they've got the Coin 50. Well, eventually, don't you think there's going to be ETFs that track that damn thing? And then XRP's in it because it's one of the large caps? So it was never going to be the case that most people would just want Bitcoin and that's it. Now, I know that's blasphemy to those who are in the cult that is Bitcoin maximalism. It's basically a church at this point. It's ridiculous. But that's not a common sense approach to investing in crypto. That's for damn sure. And so check out what they stated here. This is so fascinating because XRP just nails this in so many ways. So they wrote, the Wisdom Tree digital asset taxonomy categorizes cryptocurrencies into, and then they've got 8 different bullet points. Let me read these for you. Layer 1 payments, centralized finance, Layer 1 smart contracts network, stablecoin, Layer 2 scaling, decentralized finance, non-fungible token, and then number 8 is miscellaneous. Now, you know what's fascinating here is that even though Wisdom Tree, as you'll see, they just plop XRP into one of these categories, Layer 1 payments, it's actually almost all of these categories. So let me explain, and this it really is incredible here. Obviously, they already plopped into Layer 1 payments because that's what XRP was designed for. It was basically designed to be a better version of Bitcoin, which is to say a version of Bitcoin that actually works because Bitcoin doesn't at scale, because it's too slow and too costly for regular transactions. It can't perform as a peer-to-peer cash system, which is what Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned for Bitcoin, as stated in the Bitcoin white paper. Can't do that. XRP can. It just can't. And since it was one of the first movers, that's one of the reasons it just got traction, because it just works. How many coins have had tremendous issues in terms of scaling and this and that? I mean, think about, even Ethereum transitioning it had to make a huge change, proof of work to proof of stake, and it's been evolving since. There's all sorts of stuff here, and then you have XRP like right out of the can. It just freaking works. It just does, and we've added bells and whistles to it over the years. Super duper, but it just freaking works. It's great for payments, and there's a place for that in the world of crypto. Duh, and so it dominates that. Now, as far as centralized finance, that's interesting. So obviously, the XRP ledger is decentralized, but you can issue tokens on the XRP ledger that are centralized. And so you can engage in aspects of centralized finance using a decentralized system like the XRP ledger. So you can certainly argue that it can check that box. Look at the next one, though. Layer 1 Smart Contracts Network. That's the only one where I'll just say no, it doesn't. There is obviously no smart contract functionality on the XRP ledger. That said, there may be in the future. You guys have heard of the Hooks Amendment, right? Going back, like over half a decade at this point? I will not be surprised if we have, to some degree of Layer 1 smart contract functionality on the XRP ledger. Even David Schwartz has said that he actually thinks that it's viable. And for years he said no, he didn't think that it would. He's one of the creators of XRP. But he flipped. He's like, yeah, actually, I think it's going to work. So I think at some unknown point in the future, that's going to happen. You just have to take a real cautious, measured approach when making a change like that, because if something goes off the rails, you got a serious problem there. Number 4 was stablecoin here. Have you heard of RLUSD, which, by the way, requires XRP? That's how the code works. For every single transaction, XRP is required. Every single transaction of XRP, of RLUSD, XRP is required. And so you can check. So XRP, of course, and the XRP ledger in and of itself is not a stablecoin. I'm obviously not making that argument. But utilizing the XRP ledger, you can satisfy that as well. And then there's layer 2 scaling. That's interesting. So XRP ledger, of course, it's layer 1 technology, but I brought this point up before. You can utilize this layer 1 technology as though it's a layer 2 technology. Perfect example would be Spend the Bits. That's a firm that built on top of the XRP ledger a platform that makes it possible to actually spend your Bitcoin as fast as you can spend XRP and for the same price. And it works. Like, that's a functional product. That's not some sort of science project. That works today, because you can't do it on layer 1 with Bitcoin. So you can use the layer 1 XRP ledger as though it is a layer 2 technology, slap that bitch right on top of Bitcoin, and then it just works by tokenizing Bitcoin. And then it moves just as fast as XRP as a result, backed by actual Bitcoin. So you can use it as though it is a layer 2 scaling solution, and that's one such example right there. So you can check that box too. And then, of course, there's decentralized finance, non-fungible tokens. There's that functionality. I don't think I need to go into greater detail with all this stuff here, but you get the cut of my gibber. Like, XRP just does stuff. So at its core, it's very clear that just the fact that XRP is great at payments, that's been enough to keep it around for all these years. But then there's all this other stuff and all this other adoption and all these other use cases because of all these bullet points that it checks off. And so we know this, and it's just nice to see that, even though I don't know Wisdom Tree, they're not characterizing it the way that I just did, but that's why I'm glad I have my channel so I can say my piece on this. But I'm still glad that Wisdom Tree is parsing this out the way that they are, like freaking adults. Anyway, they continue. This taxonomy helped us identify XRP as an altcoin that could sit alongside Bitcoin. That's a key part right there. Let me read that again. This taxonomy helped us identify XRP as an altcoin that could sit alongside Bitcoin, given that both are classified as layer 1 payments. There are parallels between Ethereum and Solana, which are classified as layer 1 smart contracts networks, with Solana being an altcoin to Ethereum. XRP is a digital asset native to the XRP ledger, an open source, permissionless, and decentralized blockchain. Well, don't tell the Bitcoin maxis, because they'll tell you that XRP is centralized, because they love to lie. And I think a lot of it is that they really do feel threatened by XRP, because otherwise none of this makes sense. It's not like they're constantly getting provoked by XRP holders. It's that they're saying stupid bullshit lies. And so, like, people from our community will correct them, of course, and rightfully so. But a lot of the time, they're just spouting this nonsense out openly in the public. And it's just stuff that's provably incorrect. And I think it's because they're actually threatened, because they have heavy Bitcoin bags, and they're worried about XRP eating their lunch, effectively. Anyway, built in 2012 specifically for payments. I love that that's true, too. XRP can settle transactions on the ledger in 3 to 5 seconds and was designed to be a faster, more sustainable alternative to Bitcoin. And folks, that is true. David Schwartz has stated that publicly many times. They were just trying to build a better version of Bitcoin, and they had a loose idea that it would be great for something having to do with payments, but they didn't know how that would manifest. I'm paraphrasing, but that is what David Schwartz has articulated publicly on more than one occasion. And then they go on to cite, I don't need to read this whole thing, but they go on to cite the consensus mechanism for the XRP ledger. It's just more efficient. It's POA, proof of association, rather than proof of work, POW. And they cite all the actual stuff. Like XRP can be sent directly without a central intermediary, making a convenient instrument for bridging two different currencies quickly and efficiently. So I'm just saying, if you're a person that's learning about crypto and you want to jump in, you want to get some exposure, when you learn this, is this appealing? And then you find out XRP's been around, battle tested for over a decade, and it just works. And then there's no legal hurdles at this point either. There is so much money that's about to flow into XRP. And just wait until the ETFs get approved too. And then they're at this, why invest in XRP? And I love this section. And this is pretty cool. Like you're going to love this section because it highlights just how early you are. It really does. Check this out. As of now, cryptocurrencies have a significant track record of 15 plus years. Per figure 2, which is this chart on your screen, they also represent a portion of investable market portfolio. Figure 2 shows the market portfolio of all listed investable assets to investors. With a market cap of over $2 trillion, cryptocurrencies represent approximately 1% of the market portfolio that has a total market cap of just over $200 trillion. And by the way, just to be clear, so at the time I'm recording this, actually the market cap is over 3 trillion, but this is from November when it was 2 trillion. So it's a little bit bigger right now. 50% increase roughly. But still, that's tiny. Because again, here, cryptocurrencies, as they wrote in November, cryptocurrencies represent approximately 1% of the market portfolio that has a total cap of just over $200 trillion. So out of the $200 trillion worth of stuff you can invest in, crypto makes up 1% of that as of November. And then XRP makes up a tiny percentage of that. Do you now see how early you are? Is that not exciting to you? Look at $200 trillion of investable assets. Crypto's almost none of it. It's so small you might as well round down to zero. But it's growing, isn't it? This is going to be a way bigger percentage. This is why in 2025, even if you're new to crypto, you can absolutely still achieve life-changing wealth. That is still obviously possible. Now, that's not to say there aren't risks. There are always risks investing in anything, and you got to do the right stuff. You got to not invest based on emotions, not panic sell, not FOMO into stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But is the opportunity there for regular people like you and me? Because I'm just a regular dude. I'm not special because I have a YouTube channel. The answer is yes. The opportunity unquestionably is still there. And in the case of XRP, it's clearly an early winner in the crypto space. And now you're seeing with all the legal clarity and the United States adopting crypto broadly, you're just seeing a ton of money and flow into XRP, and you're seeing a ton of backing from major firms. So yeah, if you're talking about an altcoin to invest in for the long haul, yes, this one freaking makes sense. It just simply does. And so that's why they wrote here, since cryptocurrencies have a low correlation to traditional asset classes, they can help enhance the diversification of multi-asset portfolios and potentially improve the risk-return profiles of those portfolios. As an altcoin to Bitcoin, XRP could sit alongside it in a multi-asset portfolio and reduce investors' exposure to and reliance on a single cryptocurrency. So folks, they're pushing back against toxic Bitcoin maximalism. They're doing the work with us. And I've been doing that too. Like I've been pushing back against that crap every waking moment of my life, it seems. For over 7 years now. I mean, it is fun to like kind of mock the stupidity of them and the dumb arguments they make. So it's not like all bad, but it's nice to see them just the adults are here now. And most new people jumping into crypto, they're not going to care about the cult of Bitcoin. They just want to get theirs. And XRP is an obvious winner in the space. That's that. And so the conclusion here is what they wrote. XRP offers a strong complement to Bitcoin in a portfolio with its focus on fast to low-cost transactions. XRP balances Bitcoin's strengths as a digital asset. By holding both, investors can spread out risk and enjoy the unique benefits each brings. Bitcoin's well-known store of value and XRP's efficiency in payments, making the combination a versatile choice in today's evolving market. Okay, that's very non-confrontational. Now, of course, the truth is, although Bitcoin, yes, it's store of value, so is XRP. And I just find that it's just interesting. I'm not accusing Wisdom Tree of doing this, but Bitcoin Maximus, they will never admit that any other crypto is a store of value. But of course it is. I've run polls in the community on this on social media. The strong majority of XRP holders are holding XRP, at least in part, even if it's not the primary reason. At least one of the reasons that most people hold XRP is as a store of value. And I'm one of those people, by the way. Of course it's a freaking store of value. You idiot sticks out there in the toxic Bitcoin maximalist community. So it's okay if Wisdom Tree doesn't want to state it just like that, because otherwise, if you say XRP is all those things and Bitcoin has nothing unique, which actually is the true thing, then you're just like, you're making Bitcoin sound less appealing. Maybe they don't want to do that either. Maybe that's part of it because, you know, they do want customers to buy their products, obviously. But that is the truth. Like, there's nothing Bitcoin can do in terms of utility that XRP can't. Nothing. Zero things. There are many things XRP can do in terms of utility that Bitcoin cannot. Isn't that something? The answer is yes, my friends. Which is why XRP is here to stay. And it's one of the early winners of the crypto space, and you love to see it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.